Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Hello and welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show. Thank you for joining me here today. I'm so happy to have you here and I'm excited about today's topic. But first I want to tell you a little bit more about the book, Heal Your Hunger, 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. This book is going to be available starting April 24th on Amazon. Yay! So excited. And I have been working really for the past 4 months on this book. The book I had written much of it before, but kind of sat on it for a long while. And then this year, 2017, I got cranking, and it's really shaping up nicely. I mean, I'm really excited about this book, not just the book and the content, which is fantastic. And these 7 simple steps are simple, and not that they don't take work, not that they're always easy, but they are, I'm laying it out for you, what it takes to overcome emotional eating. And this is based on my experience, my 30 years experience of working with people alongside my husband, emotional eaters, to help them overcome this problem. Also having my own issues and overcoming those, and really learning a lot about myself through that path. And then Roy, of course, he's taught me so much. I mean, he's come from the depths of hell to overcome his own issues with food and weight. He was morbidly obese. I was obese. I was 50 pounds overweight. He was about 120 pounds overweight. So we know about this topic, and we've been helping people with this for close to 30 years now. So all that information, all that research is going in this book, and it's just beautiful. It's fun. I mean, I enjoy reading it. And I've been looking at it for a long time, but I've had some friends over recently who are editing it with me, and I love hearing them chuckle as they read. There's some funny parts in it. I mean, you gotta laugh, right? If you don't laugh, you're gonna cry. So emotional eating it's a crazy condition. We do some crazy things when we're hooked on food, right? We go to amazing lengths and do some pretty ridiculous things, and secretive and shameful things, of course, and not so funny, but you do have to laugh at some of the absurd things we've done. Like, I've eaten out of the garbage. I mean, the places I've hidden food, the lies I've told so people didn't know it was me who ate the rest of that ice cream or that candy bar or whatever it is. I mean, I'm sure we could sit and swap stories and have a good laugh over it all. And the reason why we laugh is because there's a solution. We don't have to cry. We'd cry if there were no solution, but the good news is there is a way out, and that's what's so exciting. So anyway, you can pick the book up on Amazon, and just look under Heal Your Hunger, and it'll be there. Please pick it up. And the book will be available next week, actually, and I just love it, and I hope you'll share it with your friends. And I have companion bonus material that goes with the book that you can opt in for, which just makes it an even better experience. I mean, it's not just the book extends further. So anyway, it's exciting, and I have some cool visuals for the book as well. So that's all I'm going to say. But I am going to talk about one of the chapters in the book today. Not the whole chapter, because that would take too long, but I'm going to talk about some of my favorite points in this chapter. And the chapter is one of the 7 steps, and it's called consciousness. And I love that word, consciousness, because it means so many things and so many important things. So I'm just going to talk to you first about the definition of consciousness, which is defined as being aware of others and yourself, and of what you're thinking, feeling, and doing, right? It's just being awake, being alive, being aware. So the reason why consciousness is so important for emotional eaters is because so much of the time we walk around as if we're sleepwalking, right? And especially with regard to food. I mean, we are very unconscious when it comes to the foods that we put in our mouth, the amounts that we eat, the effects the food's having on our body. I mean, denial is another word for being asleep or lack of consciousness. And denial is a very integral part of being an emotional eater or of having any addiction. And I say emotional eater, but I do interchange food addiction and emotional eating quite liberally, because they're on a spectrum. And if you don't know if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or kind of where you stand, I have a quiz which covers the spectrum, and you can find out where you are on that spectrum, and you can go to healyourhunger.com to get that quiz, to take that quiz, and you'll get a personalized score which will tell you exactly where you are on that spectrum. But anyway, the problem with this condition is denial and the fact that we lie to ourselves about what's going on, and so we don't realize how much we're eating. And so much of the time people, nutritionists or dietitians will suggest that somebody keep a food journal just so they can start waking up to how much they're eating or how little they're eating, if it's in the case of anorexia or something more restrictive. But the point is, food journals, just waking up in general, becoming more conscious is vital if we're going to change our eating habits, because so much of the problem happens when we're asleep and we're looking the other way. I mean, I have to joke, and I do this in the book with a cartoon actually, but the fact is that I almost believed that if I ate on an airplane in the air, it didn't count. Like somehow if I wasn't on land with my feet on the ground, my eating wasn't going to register. I mean, how crazy is that? But those are the tricks our mind plays when we have this condition, and all the ways that we pretend it's not affecting us, or we pretend we didn't eat that. I mean, it's really a psychosis if you think about it. I mean, a mental condition. I mean, eating disorders are certainly classified as mental illness. And my eating was certainly disordered. So the point is, we do lie to ourselves, and we are unconscious and in denial, and we're like the ostrich with our head deep in the sand and not looking at what's really going on. And so in order to overcome emotional eating, we have to get conscious. We've got to wake up. I mean, we got to snap out of it because we can't stay asleep and expect to have any progress around our eating. And so consciousness is also important because it helps us not only wake up to what we're eating, but it helps us wake up to the issue of hunger and when we're hungry and what the hunger is about. Because so often, in my experience, even to this day, physical hunger and emotional hunger resemble each other like they're twins. Okay, so much. I mean, I will have a conversation in my head at least a couple times a week, if not once a day, where I'll start to get hunger pains, and I'll be like, I'll say to myself, I'm so hungry, and then I'll be like, what do you mean you're hungry? You just ate breakfast 2 hours ago, or how you can't be hungry. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. It's, I'm not really hungry. But I'm telling you, emotional hunger feels like physical hunger. And so the nice thing about the way I eat, which is 3 meals a day and no snacking, is that I can pretty much determine whether I'm actually hungry or not based on when my last meal was. I mean, if it's been 4 hours, I'm probably having some real hunger pangs going on, and it's probably time to get ready to eat. But it's important for me to be able to differentiate between physical and emotional hunger. Otherwise, every time I feel hungry, I'm going to respond with overeating or with eating, period. And if you respond with eating long enough, you're overeating, right? So the point is, I have to wake up and notice what's going on and notice the hunger and what whether it's emotional or physical. And I have to, I mean, that's just a requirement. I mean, there's no two ways about it. You got to get conscious. And I obviously in my book offer many different ways to do that and ways to really start waking up. But I just want to mention it here because it's a prerequisite for freedom around food for sure. And the fact is, overeating helps us stay unconscious. And frankly, I think that's why we do it. I mean, we overeat and stuff ourselves with foods we aren't aware. I mean, there's so many situations in our lives that we don't want to deal with, and overeating helps us stay like that ostrich. And that's why waking up is so important. I mean, if you wake up, if you get conscious, you're going to notice some problems in your life. You're going to notice some things are not rosy. We're not singing a happy tune. But when you're eating all the time, you can pretend things are fine. And that's what food does for us. I mean, food serves as a painkiller, a form of escape, and a form of punishment. So that painkiller and escape parts of what food does for us is very much an operation, and it enables us to basically shut down our awareness of our pain and the things in our life that aren't right. And so if you wake up, if you start to not eat, if you get on a healthier way of eating, you're going to quickly recognize problems in your life. And so you have a decision to make. Are you going to face those problems, or are you going to run back to the food? And that's why 98% of all diets fail, because people are at that pivot point. They either go forward with their new way of eating, and they start dealing with their living problem, which what I had was a living problem, not an eating problem. But because I didn't want to deal with my living problem, it became an eating problem. So we have that decision. Are we going to deal with the problems that are facing us when we wake up, or are we going to run back to the food and stay unconscious? And so it's an important decision we have to make. So if you're willing to wake up, if you're willing to face those problems and start dealing with them, I mean, there's no two ways about it. You either deal and heal, or you run. And so if you don't want to run anymore, if you don't want to keep using food as a blanket over your life so you don't have to be aware or deal, you're going to have to face some things. So, and it's not as hard as we make it out to be. That's the thing, is that we think, oh my God, it'll kill me to face the unhappiness in my marriage, or the fact that my husband's cheating, or the fact that I'm in a job that's dead end and doesn't inspire me, or the fact that, I'm people pleasing people around me, or I'm taking on too much, and too many activities that aren't even mine. They're not even my domain, and I'm taking them on because I'm such a people pleaser. There's real stuff going on. That's what drives emotional eating, and that's what we have to wake up to. That's where we have to get conscious. So, not an easy pill to swallow, but if you want to get results, this is what has to happen. You got to wake up. The other thing I want to talk about, which is the topic of the show, is fathead. Okay. Fathead is what I define as the inability to see ourselves realistically or judge our body size accurately. So there's many other aspects of consciousness I talk about in the book, but body consciousness is definitely one of them. And the reason why this is so important, obviously, is because body image is very much a driver of our emotional eating habits. It's a result of and a driver of our emotional eating habits. And if we don't change our consciousness around our body, chances are we're going to have a hard time with food continuously. So fathead is when emotional eaters don't judge their body size accurately, okay? And this works both ways. So I'll tell you, many times I was packing on pounds, but I didn't want to deal with it or face it. I was in denial, again, about it. And so I fooled myself that I looked fine and that I hadn't gained weight. So this is a function of fathead, where I literally can't see my body accurately and don't realize that I'm actually getting fat. Now, you might have had the experience, as I did, of seeing a picture of yourself, or God forbid, a video of yourself in the body size that you were denying. This happened to me. I was playing lacrosse in college, and they filmed us, to sort of help instruct us on different plays, different strategies. And so we all sat and watched the screen and this movie that they took of our scrimmage or whatever it was, and practice. And I saw myself running up and down the field with a lacrosse stick in my hand. And I'll tell you, I was mortified. I was so much fatter than I thought I was. It was not the image I had of myself. And I was really stunned at how much weight I'd gained freshman 15, which was for me was a freshman 30. But I definitely did not see myself clearly, and that video was a was a rude awakening for me. So you might have had that experience where you see a picture and you're like, oh my God, is that how is that me? First of all, you don't even recognize yourself. You're like, is that me? And then you realize that it is, and it's not the image you were holding of yourself. So that's one side of the coin of fathead. The other side of the coin, of course, is when we're thinner than we think we are, and we just assume we're fat, and this is especially true for people who have been fat. And this was me. 50 pounds overweight. I was fat. I grew up fat most of the time. I fluctuated. I was definitely a yo-yoer, but so much of the time, especially in adolescence, I was fat, and I had a big pudgy face, looked like a chipmunk. I looked like I was holding a bunch of acorns in my cheeks. So I was fat. And so when I did start to lose weight, or anytime I lost weight, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the weight loss. I either thought again, flip sides of the same coin. I either thought I had lost more weight than I actually had, so I'm strutting my stuff when I probably shouldn't have been. But then also, when I did lose a significant amount of weight, I couldn't see it. I was stuck with the concept of myself when I was fatter. And so this is a problem, because when we have our consciousness stuck in one place, our reality will match our consciousness. Whatever we think is what we live, is what we manifest. And so if I don't change this consciousness of myself as a fat person, I will always have that be my reset. I'll always have to go back to that fat body that I perceive in myself, because that's the comfortable place to be. As uncomfortable as it is, as much as I hate being overweight, that is comfortable for me, and that's how I see myself. So I will go back there if I don't change my consciousness around my weight. So this is an important thing. And if you've had trouble in the past losing weight, it's probably because nothing changed but your body size, and your consciousness did not change. So how do we change our consciousness? How do we get out of fathead? Well, it takes some time. It takes some work, and it also takes, I believe, being on a spiritual path, because I really can't change these things inside myself. And so in my book, I talk about the 6 self-care success secrets, some of which are very spiritual in nature, like praying and meditating, reading spiritual literature. And so these things can help redirect my thinking. They can help rearrange my consciousness over time to where I can see more clearly, to where I'm waking up to reality, and I'm not playing tricks with myself in my mind. So a spiritual lifestyle is certainly important. But I had an interesting experience when I was in high school. I was very fat, and I at some point saw a picture in a magazine of this woman who wasn't like some skinny mini or anything. She just looked really nice, and she had these cool jeans on. This is back in the 80s when we had zippers on the bottom of the ankle part of our pants, which we still do. I still own ankle zipper pants, but back then it was kind of a new cool thing. And so she had these cool jeans on with the zipper, and I just loved how she looked. And I ripped out that piece of paper, and I pasted it to like a red poster board or something, so it was framed, and I stood it up against my desk or on my desk, and I saw it every day. And I wasn't even consciously like, I'm going to get to that weight, or I'm going to look like her. I just had it there because I just was inspired by it. I just thought she was beautiful. But it was just her look. I liked her look. I love clothes, and I liked the way she wore her clothes, and I thought it was cool. So I had that there. Well, later on that spring, I went to England with the cast of at my school of Godspell. We were performing Godspell in England to these different high schools, these private high schools, and we went around to these schools and performed. And before I went on that trip, I got sick, and it was a terrible time, because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to go. I mean, I wasn't sure I'd be well enough to go or if they'd let me go. And so it was really scary, but I was quite sick. I don't know what I had, but I was at home. I missed a bunch of school, but I lost weight during that time because I had no appetite. And so I lost quite a bit of weight. And then thankfully I was well enough to go on the trip. And so I was sort of in this new kick of losing weight, not by intention at all. It was just happening. The best kind, right? Like, we're not trying and it's just happening. It's happening to us. And so that happened to me, and I lost weight on the trip. I didn't particularly love the food in England. I didn't like beer. I mean, all my friends drank beer over there. The drinking age was a lot lower, of course, and Guinness was the thing. I didn't like beer. I didn't know beer was the big thing in England. I just drank wine. I was an alcoholic in the making, so I loved wine, and but I didn't drink as much as my friends because I didn't take as much. The wine kind of covered me. But anyway, I lost weight, and I came back from my trip to England. I had bought some cool clothes. Well, I bought a pair of jeans that had the zippers on the bottom. And it turns out, it's so funny, and I just realized this only recently, that looking back, I became that picture. I mean, I became that picture. I wasn't as thin as the woman in the picture, but she wasn't super skinny. She just was cool looking. But I had the cool jeans. I had some cool sweaters and outfits, and I looked like that gal in that picture, or very close to it, without even intending to. So my point in saying all this is that there is definitely benefit to visualizing what you want to be. And I'm not saying to spend a lot of time obsessing about a thin body and trying to become that, because I believe if you work the 7 steps that I've laid out, if you make these a part of your life, it will happen without any concentration on weight loss. I find the easiest way to gain weight is to try to lose weight. So I've learned the hard way that focusing on weight loss is futile. But the point is that setting an intention and having an inspiration of kind of a look you want to have is not a bad thing, and it can actually help you overcome fat head and start seeing yourself as different as you're on this new healing path. I mean, seeing yourself as a thin person where you're still eating bonbons and staying in all night binge watching Game of Thrones, that's not going to get you where you want to go. You're probably not going to become that picture. But I'm just talking about affirmations and visualizations and ways to visualize and really aspire to be, because that's what happened for me without my even intending it, and without even knowing what a visualization was, or really a what do you call it, those vision boards. I mean, it was essentially a vision board. So I believe in those things, though, just to reset our consciousness. Again, getting back to consciousness, resetting our frame of mind around who we are. And there's other ways as well. I mean, there's cool things that you can do as well. But I think the first step is awareness of your consciousness and of the fact that your consciousness around your weight is sabotaging you. Either because you're not realizing how much weight you're gaining and you're in denial about how much you're overeating or emotionally eating, so you're packing on the pounds, or if you're in a much thinner body than you realize. I mean, so many times while I was thin, if I'd lost a bunch of weight, I was still in that fat, that larger head, larger size in my head, and I'd gripe about my weight, and then I'd gripe about it so much, so dissatisfied that I'd end up binging and gaining weight, and then I wished I were the weight that I had been when I hated my weight. How many times, oh my gosh, if I had $1 for every time I gained weight and then kicked myself because I was no longer the weight that I was griping about before. Jeez Louise, what a terrible experience that is. So being grateful for whatever weight I'm at is super important. And I have to say, I'm never going to have a different body size if I don't come to a place of acceptance. And I don't mean giving in, like you're not going to try to eat better or live a healthier lifestyle. I don't mean resigning yourself to that weight, but accepting that whatever weight you're at is the weight you're at, and then it's not bad and it's not the end of the world, and that you can aspire to be a different weight without making it, being hyper focused on it or trying to force your body to do that, because God knows our bodies aren't going to stand for that. So anyway, that's a little bit about fathead. I hope that helps. And there's a lot more tips in my book about all the things I'm covering here today, and raising your consciousness, how to raise your consciousness so that you are thinking more clearly and accurately and realistically about all the situations in your life, so that you can address them and heal them and move on from them. So that's what I got, and I'm really happy that you tuned in. Thank you so much. Please come back for the next show, where I'll have an awesome guest, and you'll get to hear some goodies around health and transformation. So be sure to check out my book on Amazon, Heal Your Hunger, 7 Simple Steps to End Emotional Eating Now. And check out my Facebook page, Heal Your Hunger. Just go to Heal Your Hunger on Facebook and tune in there. I have I do a weekly check-in and questions and answers on there. So please say hi on the Facebook page, and let's get connected and stay engaged and heal together. So thanks so much. I hope you have an awesome day and you be well. Take care.
If you enjoyed this show and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.